Well, hi, and welcome to another LRCC Soundbite. So last week I talked a bit about what Jesus told people, radical things that were against what people normally do, like love your enemy, things that were really against human nature. Well, this week something completely different. Jesus goes off to pray with a few of his friends. And that wasn't uncommon, of course. Unsurprisingly, Jesus goes off to pray quite a bit. He took Peter, James and John with him. I don't know what they thought about praying. I don't think it was something they particularly did. They'd all previously been fishermen, so deeply religious things like praying probably weren't for them. And actually, in another part of the story, which we'll come to in a minute, they even go to Jesus and ask him about praying, what they should say and how they should do it. Anyway, here they are, they're going with him, they go off up a mountain. They get to a place and I think Peter, James and John must have sat down while Jesus went off and prayed. Because the next thing we hear in the story is they've gone to sleep. Now, while they were sleeping, Jesus isn't praying on his own. It's a little strange, isn't it? His clothes start to change and two men join him, Moses and Elijah. Now, Moses and Elijah lived well over 1,000 years earlier. Moses died before the Israelites had entered what became Israel, and Elijah was taken up to heaven to be with God. Suddenly, there they are talking with Jesus about everything that's going to happen when Jesus goes to Jerusalem, is betrayed, dies on a cross, and rises again 3 days later. The Easter story. Now, fortunately, Peter, James and John are woken by all this going on and a little amazed. I think more than a little. Sometime later, they hear God the Father's voice speak to them. He says, "This is my chosen son. Listen to what he says." And after that, Jesus changes back. He becomes himself again, back to normal. This has to have had a massive impact on these three guys, Peter, James and John. I said earlier, they asked him about how to pray. Well, it was shortly after this that they came and they asked, and maybe this is what they had fresh in their minds. And at that point, Jesus taught them what we call today the Lord's Prayer. I think in that moment on top of the mountain, they started to see who Jesus really was. Yes, he was a man. They lived as a group, eating, sleeping, joking, travelling together. They knew all his little quirks and they knew all his little habits. But on this day, they learnt something important about Jesus being God, about how Jesus had a direct relationship with God the Father. They saw that prayer was powerful and unexpected. They also saw that prayer is not just one way. It's not just us giving God a shopping list of what we want him to do for us, but it's two-way, sharing and learning. It's not something boring, and it's definitely not something to sleep through. This event completely changed their understanding and expectation of God. I wonder, what are your expectations of God? I wonder what you might have seen that might challenge those expectations. For me, I think I've learnt enough about God to know that whatever I might expect is usually wrong, but always wrong in a good way, because things I could never have imagined suddenly come along instead. So this week, why not let down some of the barriers we have because we expect things in a particular way? You never know how someone or something might surprise you, and that can be amazing. Don't be quick to dismiss things because it wasn't what you expected. Instead, look and see what's underneath. Maybe God is doing something incredible if you're open to see it. Have a great week. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.